Hi guys, it's Anne here, and today's video is a review of this Color Story Kaleidoscope palette. I wanted to do a review on this palette because I haven't seen any reviews on these Color Story palettes. When I went into Marshalls and Winners a few times, about a month ago now or so, there seemed to be a ton of palettes from this brand, and usually when I go into the store and there's something that like piques my interest but I don't know anything about it, I'll like try and quickly jump online and try and find something about it. But I think with like the brand name being Color Story, it's making it really hard to try and find anything, at least quickly. So I'm gonna see if I can find anything else, and if I find like a brand website, or if I find, I don't know, maybe you can buy this like in Ulta. Maybe it's more accessible in the States than it is here. So there was multiple palettes. There was like the festival palette, I think something else, like a nudes palette or something, and then there was this Kaleidoscope palette. This one piqued my interest the most. I really liked the color story in here. Particularly, I was drawn to these two colors right here. They're sort of like a purpley blue color, and I don't think I have anything like that at all. So I was intrigued. I was intrigued to try this out. So I paid $12.99 Canadian for this. It says it's comparable to $18. The back says that it is pressed pigments, and it says that it's made in China, and it also says that it's not tested on animals. You can see that on the back here. So take that what you will. I'm not really sure because as far as I know, I remember I think it was the girls from the Beauty News talking, and there's something like if the product is made within China, it doesn't get tested on animals, but if it's a product that's new to the market and being brought into China, I don't know. If you're hardcore, like cruelty free, then I just steer clear from this because it's to me a gray area. So first thoughts on this. I'm going to show you some swatches from this palette. I'll be completely honest, when I first swatched this, I was like, what have I done? What have I bought? So the back says that it's pressed pigments, but then I should have known, if you read the first two ingredients, it's mica and talc. So they're incredibly powdery. They're not very pigmented. So pressed pigments is a bit of a misnomer. Is that the word? It's misleading. They're not pressed pigment. So if you're going into this thinking you're going to get like pressed pigment quality, you're going to have a bad time. However, if you go in with an open mind, I found when I swatched them, they were not impressive, but when I started using them on my eyes, I was like, oh, these are quite lovely. So for the most part, like on day-to-day looks, I was using a lot of the colors sort of on this side, so like Celestial, Ethereal, Luna, Gilded Gold, Ruby, Astral, like the really neutrally type colors. And for a day-to-day look, those work really well. This first look I'll show you, I'll put a look in where I used Cosmopolitan, which is like this pinky red color, and then I sort of mixed together Ruby and what's the color? Pure? Yes, Ruby and Pure. I mixed those two together, and then Gilded Gold. So Gilded Gold is a very yellow gold. It doesn't look very yellow here, but I find it's very yellow on the eyes. Cosmopolitan is a very interesting color, so it looks kind of blah in the palette. It almost looks like just a very like matte satin, maybe light satin, but it's got a really nice sheen to it. Let's see if I can, like, again, when I swatch it on my finger, I'm like, ugh, but maybe, so see how it's got like it's actually got a really nice sheen to it. I was really quite impressed when I started putting this on my eye. I was like, oh, I didn't think that was gonna look like that. So that was interesting. So the next look I'll show you is just with these two shades here, Mystic and Goddess. I just did like a two-shade look. Now Goddess is definitely very powdery and patchy. It's something that you have to work with. Actually, in general, these eyeshadows and powders, basically powders, eyeshadows, you really need to work. They're not those like one swipe full pigment. You really need to build them up if you want a lot of color. If you want a light wash of color, these are awesome. With exception, this color here, Mystic, is actually incredibly pigmented. I was really pleased with this color. It came out exactly how I envisioned it would. So you can see it right there. It's like a a blue-based purple, and it is beautiful. It can kind of pull a bit more purple, it can kind of pull a bit more blue depending on the light, but yeah, that color, beautiful. An interesting color that may disappoint you if you're expecting it to look like this. So this color is Stellar right here, and you can see in the palette that it looks like an olive green. I have a shade, I think it's in the Royal Affair palette, that looks kind of similar, and there's a similar kind of shade looking color in the Chocolate Bar palette, I think, which again doesn't turn out the way you think it is. It turns out more brown than green. Anyway, Stellar is more of like a lime green, and it's very sheer. So that's Stellar. So you can see it's not nearly as olive green. It's a bit more lime green. It ends up being lighter than you think it is, and it's very, very sheer. It's really hard to build that shade up. And the last shade that I want to specifically call out, so I did a look using Stellar, Electric, and Celestial. So as you can see in that look, Stellar doesn't look the way you think it would look. The other shade that I want to call out from that look is this color, Celestial. It's probably one of the standout, like, really, really beautiful colors in this palette. So see how like reflective, like that might be a really beautiful highlight too. I haven't tried it yet as a highlight, but that Celestial color is beautiful as an inner corner highlight. Love it for that. Today I'm also wearing these eyeshadows. So I have Astral mostly all over the eye. Then I have this color Divine right here, which is a little bit similar to this. I'll just show you the difference right beside it. It's got the same sort of effect, but it's a purple, not so pink, and it's a bit more sheer. Like I had to really work to build that one up. The top color is Divine, and then the middle color is Cosmopolitan. So you can see Divine is just a bit lighter. Again, it's very deceptive in the pan because it looks like it's like going to be a really punchy. Looks like it's going to be like a really punchy plum color, but it's not. And then I have Luna in. Sorry, that's Luna right there. I have Luna in the inner corner, and then on my lower lash line I've got Aura blended out with, Divine on the outside. So just sort of zooming in here so you can see. That's what this eye look is right now. So again, the colors are a bit more of a sheer wash of color. You're not going to get super pigment out of these. Pressed pigment, definitely not pressed pigment. More just regular sort of cheaper eyeshadow type look. So hopefully this review of this palette was helpful. I'm not nearly as disappointed now that I've used it a few times. I do like the colors. This is a very wearable palette. This is something that I can definitely wear day to day. If A, you have a lot of eyeshadow, B, you like a lot of pigmented colors. I think of somebody like Andrea Mattiliano. She likes a lot of, intense color. She would hate this. Like, this would not be her. But I think of somebody like Jessica Braun or Mariah Leonard, that like they do sheer washes of color. This would probably be more suited for somebody that likes that. It's also only $12.99, so again, it depends on like, could you spend that $12.99 towards something a bit more valuable that you would appreciate more? So for example, if you like something more pigmented, and I would recommend going for something like ColourPop. For me, ColourPop is not very accessible because I have to pay like Canadian exchange, and then I think there's sometimes duties, and yeah, it ends up being, ColourPop actually ends up not being as cheap as you think it is. But again, for $12.99, this was not a bad palette. It has some very unique shades that don't duplicate anything else that I have. So I'm pleasantly surprised by it. Would I buy another palette from this brand? Probably not, unless there were very specific colors in it that intrigued me. That's really the only reason why I would ever buy another palette from this brand. And of all the other palettes that they had at the store, none of them really, other than this one, spoke to me. So at this point, I don't think it's a great brand. in terms of quality eyeshadows, but are they okay? Yeah. Are they, you can play with them and you can use them for sure. But if you expect like pressed pigment quality, that's not what this is. That's it. That's my review on the Color Story Kaleidoscope palette. I hope you liked this video. If you did, feel free to give it the little thumbs up down below. And I would love it if you did subscribe to my tiny little channel here in Toronto, Canada. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye.